again, everyone. Today I have another voiceover video. So again, I'm in the tin can telling you what I'm doing here today. I'm going to be swatching these Ecoline liquid watercolor markers. So I recently swatched some liquid watercolor that was in jars in the liquid form, and these are the same Ecoline pigments, just in markers. So these have a brush pen tip there. And so this color here is lemon yellow. And I think I mentioned on the prior video where I did the liquid watercolors that I really do prefer the liquid watercolor for the type of work that I do. But if you like working with markers and you like working with um, lettering or anything like that, I think these would be great for that. This color is light orange. And I'll tell you the reason why I like the liquid better than the markers. So with the markers, it's a little bit harder to mix colors. It's a lot easier to mix colors with the liquid watercolor. With these, you do get a little bit of what I've been calling ghosting underneath, where you put the original marks with the pen. So it makes it not quite so flowy. This is on watercolor paper. This is a Pentalic watercolor notebook with cold press paper, and this color that's going on right here is Ultramarine Deep. And I think on a smoother paper you might be able to get a smoother blend of color with these markers, but even with this rougher paper or cold press paper, the liquid watercolors work really great on it. And this color is Turquoise Blue. And I have a different selection of colors. Well, I have some similar colors, but I do have some different colors here in these markers than I do in the liquid watercolor. So they both have their purpose. This is deep green, but I think this would be better if you were going to be drawing with markers or maybe doing some mark making and that sort of thing. But the same is true for these markers as is true for the liquid watercolor. These colors are going to fade a little bit more because they're pigment based. This is light green. That's what color you're getting now. They are going to fade a lot faster than regular watercolor. They are going to be more vibrant though. So they're really great for sketchbook work because they're not going to be exposed to light really if they're in a sketchbook and the sketchbook is closed. But I just personally like regular watercolor probably better than both of these. But if you really, there's really no way to get this really bright, vibrant color with regular watercolor. And if you did, a lot of times you're having the same light fastness issue. So this is violet red. This one you could definitely see the mark underneath for the markers. One thing I do like about these is they come in really great colors. There's a lot of great colors for these, and this is just a portion of the colors that you can get. This color is blue violet, and at various times I've tried to do fancy lettering, but I never really got very good at it, and I kind of, that's the original reason why I got these markers, but I just haven't been using them for that. So I've been trying to find other uses for them. This color is Carmine. But the thing is too, I've had these markers sitting around relatively little to no use for at least 6 months, probably longer, and they're all totally fine still. They've stayed really nice and wet. This color is Scarlet that you're seeing now. And towards the end here, I do try to do some mixing with two different color markers. I think you'd probably, if you just have the markers and you want to do some mixing, I would recommend doing it in a palette, like just, okay, and this color is Reddish Brown. If you do want to be mixing them, I would draw with one marker in one part of the palette, like a ceramic palette, and then draw in another part of the palette with the marker, with the other marker in a different part of the palette, and then mix them together with a brush, if that's how you'd like to do it. These you might be able to touch tip to tip. That's something that you can do with some markers that have a lot of liquid in them, like these do. This is Sepia, by the way. you can touch the tip of one to another, and then the tip will be loaded with both colors. And sometimes you get a little bit of a mix, but you can also get a fade of color that way, which is kind of fun. Again, for lettering, these would be great for that. So now I'm going into some grays. This is warm gray. And the grays especially really showed that undermarking there on this paper. You're going to have better results with smoother paper, like I said, and also if you work with these on a surface with gesso over the top, you're going to be able to blend them a little bit better. And I was trying to figure out which color gray I was doing next here. This is the cold gray. So I got a few different values of gray here. So the first one was warm gray, this one is cold gray, and then we're going to have some lighter versions of both of those. Although the next one that I get out, I think is just called gray. But it does seem to be sort of on the cooler side, but it could just be right down the middle and be kind of neutral. So this is just plain old gray, and that one really marked. Could also have something to do with how long, yes, I was like, what's going on? It could have something to do with how long you let it sit before you use the water. This particular one is warm gray light. These would be really great for shading in a drawing though, for creating different levels of shadow or something like that with the different variations. This next one is deep gray. And I also think, for my purposes, these would probably be good for mark making, if I'm doing abstracts, for example. And then this one is black, which is actually a pretty good black, and you probably could get various shades of gray just with this black. Yes, I liked that one, I think. I think that's what I meant by that. It definitely blended very easily. It's always funny because I intended to do this voiceover really soon after doing this, and then obviously it's been like at least a week, and you know, I've totally forgotten what I did. And then here I'm putting some colors together to mix them. This is Carmine and one of the grays. I can't remember which gray this is, but I was trying to do a similar mix that I did with the liquid watercolors with the magenta and one of the grays. But as you can see, it's really hard to mix on the paper with these, and I think that's probably not the best way to do that. Regardless, I do try with two more mixes. So this is that Ultramarine Deep, I believe, either that or the Turquoise Blue. It might be the Turquoise Blue. This is the Turquoise Blue. And then that is a warm gray. I think the first one might have been the cold gray. And you can get a little bit of mixing, but it's just not as effective as the liquid watercolor. And like I said, I think that this is a great product. I think it just depends on how you're going to use it. And that's the Ultramarine Deep. And then, what's that? That looks like one of the grays again. That might be the deep gray. And yeah, again, you're really not getting a whole lot of mixing, and you're definitely seeing those undermarks there. So if you do want to mix these like a true mix to get a pure color, not a pure color, but a flat wash of color, I would definitely do that in a palette with the brushes. And so here I'm showing them compared to these liquid watercolors. You get a lot more saturation. As far as how long they would last, I'm not really sure. But looks like we're getting close to the end of the video here, so I'm going to wrap up. This is the other video that I did on liquid watercolor, and those are the Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer markers. But anyway, I think that's all I had for you today. I hope to see you next time. Until then, bye!